But it also represents a great opportunity. And the opportunity side of the equation has really expanded dramatically with the sharp and unexpectedly steep decrease in the price of renewable energy. So it's an exciting time. And
so technology is fueling your new optimism.
Yes, it is. And business is leading the way. And that's all cause for real hope.
You mentioned that business is leading the way. If I could ask you now about government, what are your thoughts on how the Canadian government is approaching the issue?
Well, I'm not a citizen of Canada, so I'm a little reluctant to jump into your politics, but many of my Canadian friends yearn for Canada to resume the role of leadership that it's always been known for, with peacekeeping missions and social reforms and all of the things that people look to Canada for and admire about Canada. In recent years, at the national level, the reluctance of the Canadian government to really provide leadership on the climate issue has been a cause for concern, and many have expressed that concern. However, into that breach, you see stepping the provincial governments.
If you look at Alberta, our province where most of our energy development is centered, the price of oil, the collapse in the price of oil in the last year has taken that economy from a boom to a bust, and as a result, the Canadian economy has slowed. What does that say to you about how difficult an economic challenge this is for economies like Canada's?
Well, I think that it's a problem for any nation that puts too many eggs in one basket, particularly if the basket is a carbon-rich fuel, because most economists around the world believe that this big transition away from carbon-based energy and toward renewable sources is inevitable. All of the G7 nations pledged to move toward zero carbon in this century, and businesses are now shaping their expectations accordingly. So years ago, there's a famous quotation from a former oil minister in Saudi Arabia who said that the Stone Age didn't end because of a shortage of stones, and the oil age will not end because of a shortage of oil. It will end because something better has come along. And the incredibly steep drop in the price of electricity from solar, and almost to the same extent wind, the advances in energy storage, these are revolutionary developments in energy markets. It seems wise for any nation to look to the 21st century model rather than the 20th century model.
And yet, just to keep on about Alberta for a moment, the provincial government there just changed.
Yeah.
A leftist government was elected, the New Democrats won, with a huge mandate for change. And Premier Rachel Notley said just yesterday to a business audience that the oil sands were a tremendous asset for the province and that she believed they needed to be expanded. So what does that say about the political push for change?
Well, again, I'm not an expert on your politics, but I would say that one possibility is it says she has a tricky political line to walk in a resource-rich province, but again, I don't want to speak for her.
What do you think needs to happen this year on the climate change front politically?
Well, I think we will get an agreement in Paris. I think the Paris Agreement will include most all of the major carbon pollution emitters agreeing to significant cutbacks. Last year was the first time in history that the world's CO2 emissions did not go up in the absence of a global recession or the collapse of the Soviet Union. It went down briefly then, but this was the first time that it went down due to more renewable energy, more efficiency, better management of energy use, And it's early to predict that's going to continue, but a lot of the experts believe we are turning the corner right now.
There is still so much skepticism that the deal can be done. Why?
Well, I think there are a lot of reasons. So we've relied on carbon-based energy for 150 years, and it still makes up 85% of the world's energy. So it's naturally difficult to make a transition as large as this transition. We're going to make it, we are making it, we're going to win this, but the remaining question is how long it will take and how quickly we can make the transition. It's important to do it sooner rather than later.
How important?
Well, the future of our civilization's at risk. That's pretty important, I think. We're still putting every day 110 million tons of global warming pollution into the atmosphere as if it's an open sewer. And most of it's going into the oceans. It's changing weather patterns. It's making droughts much more prevalent and much deeper, more severe. It's causing these huge downpours by disrupting the water cycle. You're seeing massive floods in areas all around the world, far more frequently and far more severe floods than in the past. You're seeing the ice melting, of course, and the sea level rising. But again, on the plus side, we're seeing these fantastic opportunities to put people to work, helping to create this transition more rapidly and boost the economy in the process.
You mentioned provinces like Ontario and Quebec. Can these subnationals, as you term it, can they do the work in the absence of a federal jurisdiction?
Well, we shouldn't be too sanguine about it because we do need national commitments, and that's what the Paris Agreement is going to be about. But neither should we diminish the importance of what Ontario, Quebec, California, and other subnational governments are doing. You throw BC in there, they've been playing a leadership role also. You're seeing a big part of Canada's population participating in real leadership.
And what is the key for you? Putting a price on pollution? A price on carbon?
Yeah, I think that when you put a price on carbon in markets, that helps to speed up this transition. Remember...
Can you do it without a price on carbon?
Much more slowly. It's technically possible, but it would take too long. And in order to put a price on carbon in markets, we need to put a price on denial in politics. And I think that a lot of voters are beginning to do that. I think you're seeing some profound political shifts around the world. I think that the grassroots awareness of this crisis has been boosted partly by Mother Nature. These extreme weather events, every night on the news, it's like a nature hike through the book of Revelation. The dots are not always connected, but you see these events unfolding every single day now. It's quite extraordinary.
Well, I thank you for your time.
My pleasure. Thank you.
We have to take a short break.